Welcome to the Highly Sensitive Person Podcast, a twice-monthly podcast for people who experience the world intensely. Join me on a journey of acceptance of our highly sensitive person traits. Welcome to episode 66 of the HSP podcast. I'm your host, Kelly. This is a show for people who have the trait of sensory processing sensitivity or people who just want to learn more about being highly sensitive. Before jumping into today's topic, I'd like to share 2 quick emails with you that I received recently from some listeners. To keep their privacy, I'm not going to share their names. The first wrote, I found your website by coincidence. I live in Madrid, Spain, and despite sometimes my English not being good enough to understand every single word you say, your podcasts are really good for me because I'm discovering that there are more people who feel like me and I'm not weird as many other people believe. And the second is actually a comment from my blog that says, I discovered your website and podcast about a month ago. Like a lot of people here, I spent most of my life thinking that I was strange as I struggled to cope in this crazy, overstimulating world. But after discovering Dr. Aaron and your website and podcast, I've started learning to understand myself and how to be happier. The reason I share these comments is because I think it's powerful to know that you, listener, aren't alone. You can listen to the show and maybe you relate to some of the things I say, but you might not realize just how many other people out there feel the same way. There are so many of us. So today, I want to talk about overstimulation. Noise, chaos, bright lights, odors, crowds. These are all kryptonite to a highly sensitive person. A while back, I brainstormed a list of all the places I could think of that seemed to me to be the worst places on earth for HSPs. So this episode is a little different than most. This isn't advice or a serious topic. It's sort of tongue-in-cheek, kind of lighthearted, and dare I say, even a little bit silly. It's more about thinking about all the things that tend to set off HSPs and then thinking about which places have a lot of those things. I think it's kind of a fun exercise. So not everyone's going to agree with this list, so please just don't take this too seriously. And yet another disclaimer, I'm not saying that every HSP hates the things on this list or even that I hate them 100% of the time. It's just for fun and pondering purposes. So here's my list of the worst possible places in the world for an HSP. The first worst place for an HSP is a crowded nightclub. The triggers at a crowded nightclub for an HSP could include extremely loud music, lots of people, flashing lights combined with dim lighting, no respite from stimulation, and public embarrassment, aka dancing. Clubs are often dark, people are crowded shoulder to shoulder, and music is blaring so loud that you can't speak to anyone without yelling in their ear. There's no stillness or calmness, nowhere to get away from the stimulation. How is that fun? I'm so glad that I'm old now and don't have to deal with getting dragged to a crowded club or bar anymore, or I don't have to feel like I'm no fun because I don't like doing it. Number 2 worst place is the world's largest store, Macy's Herald Square in New York City. The triggers here are bright lighting, lots of people, and most of all, too many choices. The Macy's in Herald Square is the flagship Macy's department store, and it is the definition of overwhelming. It is 2.2 million square feet, almost 205,000 square meters, and it has 10 floors of shopping. 10 floors. If you like to shop, thinking about the store probably makes you excited, but as an HSP, it's kind of terrifying. I've tried on several occasions to shop there because the sheer variety of stuff is just, well, it's impressive, but it's also overwhelming. Even though I might really need or want a new pair of shoes, I just can't look through all of the stuff there. And it's so crowded with people. After about an hour in this Macy's and going up and down the escalators countless times, I just can't handle it anymore. I feel panicky, grumpy, and tired. My whole mood is ruined and I just have to leave. It's a weird feeling because part of me wants to shop there and explore all of the things they have, but the other part of me just wants to give up. The number 3 worst place for an HSP in the world is Benihana Restaurant. The triggers for an HSP are loud, jarring, endless noises, smoke, and being surrounded by people and activity in all directions. Benihana is a chain restaurant in the U.S. I think there are some international locations, but it's mostly in the U.S. It's a Japanese-style hibachi grill experience where chefs kind of put on a show while they cook your food on lots of flat tabletop grills throughout the huge restaurant. Diners are seated in a circle around the chef as he's standing at the grill, and as he cooks everyone's food, he does a bunch of tricks and funny antics. But the same routine is going on concurrently at numerous tables throughout the restaurant. So imagine it's this giant room full of people. There's hissing smoke in the air from the cooking and frying, and there's a lot of ambient noise. Plus, the chefs are always hitting and smacking their metal spatulas on the grill all the time as part of their routine. Like flipping them around, clang, clang, clang. This is the part that really gets to me. It's so loud. Last time I was dragged to a Benihana, I actually had to cover my ears a few times. I'm sorry for anyone out there who might like Benihana, but I hate it just because it's sensory overload. My number 4 worst place in the world for an HSP is a casino. The triggers at a casino might include never-ending noise, bright or flashing lights, lots of people, cigarette smoke, depending on where you are, and sadness. Casinos are overstimulation to the max. They are massive, never-ending rooms full of people and flashing lights. Somehow the beeping and dinging and electronic music from the machines finds its way into your ears from every angle, never stopping. And when I'm in a casino here in the US, because I can't speak for other countries, I can't help but notice that so many of the people there are elderly and alone. It seems like they've been there for hours and hours. There's a feeling of sadness and desperation, loneliness, and even addiction. That can weigh heavily on HSPs who are attuned to the feelings of people around them. Thinking about all these unpleasant places makes me just want to put on some sweatpants and cuddle into a fluffy blanket with a book and some comforting tea. Which is perfect because I wanted to tell you about this monthly tea subscription that I just discovered. How about that segue? That's right, I just want to pause for a moment and tell you about tea. The owner of the Plum Deluxe Tea Company, Andy, contacted me because he's a fan of the podcast. As we communicated, I grew to love his business's goals and vibrant tea community. Plum Deluxe, which is out of Portland, Oregon, has a Tea of the Month club that is just $10 a month. I love the idea of getting a new tea in the mail every few weeks, kind of as a little gift to myself. With the subscription, you get enough hand-blended tea for about 20 cups. You'll also receive a free sample of one additional tea and access to his great private Facebook group of fellow tea lovers, which might actually be my favorite part. The next deadline for the Tea of the Month is July 7th, so this is the perfect time to order and get in on the next shipment. You can cancel your subscription anytime. And apologies to international listeners, but this promo is only in the US and Canada. Go to highlysensitiveperson.net/tea to sign up for this special offer from Plum Deluxe. And I have 2 more announcements for you. I wanted to let you know that I'm going to be doing a call-in show next week or the week after. If you want to call in to Skype and talk to me with questions or comments, please make sure you're subscribed to my newsletter to get the details and the times that this will be happening. Go to highlysensitiveperson.net/episode 66 to subscribe to the newsletter and also to find the show notes for this episode. The second big announcement is that I am developing a mastermind group for highly sensitive entrepreneurs. This will be a small select group of people who meet virtually on a regular basis to share and get support for their projects and businesses. Again, subscribe to the newsletter to get all the details and find out how to sign up in the near future at highlysensitiveperson.net. I would like to give a shout out to Monica Chow, who very generously supported the show with a donation. Thank you so much, Monica. Thanks, everyone, and see you next time.